All right, welcome back. This is the Roundtable with Country and Broom, and today we have special guest, Mr. Nana Man here. Hopefully, he'll become one of our regular
Hell
staples
yeah.
of the show. Good to have you on today. Just trying to get through some talk about what's going on right now in the NFL. Then we're going to jump into some talk about last week's games. There were some good games last week, so we'll definitely talk about a little bit about those, and then we'll jump in straight into our picks and predictions for this weekend. So I don't know if Country, if you want to go ahead and start us off, if you want to jump in there and
Um, sure. Let me get into the thing. See
let
what we
us know
got
what's
going
going
on.
on this week.
Lots of coaches being hired.
Yeah.
Um, looks like the Jets hired offensive coordinator, or not the Rams hired the Jets offensive coordinator Mike LaFleur. Probably a decent move for them. We'll see how that holds out. Looks
Yeah.
like the Falcons actually just hired the ex Saints defensive coordinator Ryan Nielsen as their new defensive coordinator. So.
And I think a lot of it's going to depend on what Sean Payton does here too, because a lot of teams are still kind of waiting on him to say yay, nay, or
He made a announcement earlier. He was going back to TV because of some stuff coming out of Denver, and the jobs he specifically wanted have not become available. So he came out earlier, and Adam Schefter and all of them had stated that he's probably just going to return back to retirement unless the team he wants opens up. But he didn't say what team it was.
yeah. And I saw that too earlier today. I was kind of looking. I'm obviously a Broncos fan, so um, I was keeping a close eye on that. But somebody said he was asking like 20 million a year for, and I don't know if anybody's going to pay him 20 million a year. He's a great coach, but
Well, it's not only that. The Saints are also wanting to pick. He's
I
still
understand
under
they're
con.
2 first-round picks.
Yeah, he's still under contract with the Saints, so the Saints want picks along with the whatever he's going to get too. Um, so
You're talking
I don't
about
know,
trading
man.
away your franchise for
Coach,
the sake of a coach. I don't know if that's worth it. There's a lot of good young coaches out there that are looking
I
for a
I
chance.
I think Sean Payton's holding out for the Cowboys job,
Yeah,
even though I know it's not going to come open anytime soon. But I think that's what he's holding out for. His son, his son is in Dallas. So I think, and he wants to be closer to his son. So I think that's where he's looking to go.
I think he was honestly holding out for Nannerman's team there. I think he was trying to look for
Yeah,
that Chargers job to open up. But
yeah. The thing about the Chargers is we are an attractable team. It really is. You have the likes of Khalil Mack, Derwin James. You got all these big names, Herbert, Eckler, Williams, and Allen. But I'm kind of glad we stuck with Staley. Nothing against Sean Payton. He's a great coach, but for someone who hasn't only been to one Super Bowl,
yeah,
obviously with the Saints, uh, proven track record of winning. But so is Staley. Staley is 19 and 15 in his first two seasons, and um, the likes of Andy Reid were 16 and 16 in their first two seasons.
yeah,
So everyone that's been under fire, like Sean Payton needs to go to L.A. Sean Payton this, we take the L.A. job. I'm kind of glad we stuck with Staley because he's gutsy and he does stuff that no other coach does. Going for it on fourth down, doing
yeah,
off the wall stuff because no one's expecting it. But nonetheless, practical job. But I'm glad that we stick with Staley. And the team actually came out and said that they truly believe in Staley. They really do. It's a leadership team, and I'm kind of glad we didn't pick up Sean Payton. Great coach, but I think we need to stick with what we're going with.
yeah. I just
We
don't.
don't.
I don't see mortgaging the whole franchise and the future franchise for one coach. I mean, you look at LA. They've. I love Herbert. I always have ever since he was an Oregon quarterback. I mean, I'm an Oregon Ducks fan on top of being a Broncos fan, so I always like to see the Oregon guys succeed. But um, I I just think he's a heck of a quarterback, and I would hate to see them not be able to put pieces around him and build upon that. Yeah, they had a terrible season, but it is what it is. They ended earlier than they should have. They ended up not exactly where they wanted to be in the AFC West, but overall they made it to the playoffs and one and done. They got come back on, but you know I don't. I just can't see. Like I saw how Denver steers away from Sean Payton if that's really what he's at. If they're asking for 20 million and 2 first round draft picks, I don't. I hope they don't be stupid, but they
I
can.
don't think anyone's worth it. I don't.
No,
I honestly not right now. There's no one that stands out right as a coach or even a
no,
player that would be like, I'm going to put 2 first-round draft picks on this guy. No one's really. It's kind of a weird season. It
Yep.
really is. No one's really available that's young. No one's really the older guys are really starting to show their age, and there's really no one out there where you're like, that's eye popping. That's like, wow, that's the next Calvin Johnson, or wow,
Right.
that's the next Tom Brady, out in free agency even then.
like
To build the trade like for Sean Payton, they want 2 first-round draft picks. I don't think I think a team would have a better chance of going to the
right.
Super Bowl with the Broncos if they use those 2 draft picks instead of giving them up.
Yeah, and they already gave one up in a situation they shouldn't have gave. Well, they gave 2 up for Russell Wilson, so this year's and next year. So, but yeah, I mean, you got guys like D'Amico Ryans that are out there. You know, we talked about him a little bit last week. I think he may be an excellent head coach candidate. A young guy. And then they also looked at Shaw. Denver did, so that's another good one. I mean, there are some young guys out there. There's not a ton of younger talent right now that are poised for head coaching positions, but I mean, there are some guys out there, and it's definitely not, to me, just not worth putting up with all the drama that's going to come along with bringing a Sean Payton in.
I
Yeah.
think D'Amico Ryans ends up with the Houston Texans. I mean, he used to play there, just a perfect spot for him. And I know from what I've heard that he's the leading candidate for the Texans job anyway. So
Oh yeah, yeah. And I
he's
mean,
a damn good player. Good player.
he's a player's coach, like we
Look at
talked
what-
about.
He's a player's coach. Look what he's done in San Francisco, man. That defense is the shit.
Oh yeah,
Like, honest. I mean, you got quite a few top defenses, but that defense right there might be the top.
I got a legitimate question since we're on this topic of, changing quarterbacks and coaches, stuff like that. What about Dak Prescott? He hits free agency along with Ezekiel Elliott. If you're the Cowboys, do you move on from both of them and put
I
in
think
Cooper?
so. No. I think you draft one and you start him right away. I think you got to let Dak go because Dak's proven that he can't handle the big games. And Zeke just too damn lazy. He can't get out of the backfield.
but then what would Dallas have to give up in order to get somebody that could play instantly?
They would have to get up in the top 5 picks. They would have to trade up in the draft pick. I think C.J. Stroud would be picked for them. Even Will Levis would be a good pick for Dallas.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, I mean, those are all possibilities. Like, just what are they willing to part with in order to make something like that happen? Dak Prescott, he's a great quarterback, but I don't think he's the solution there long term. He hasn't shown that yet.
Well, they're also set to lose Tony Pollard too.
Yeah.
Tony Pollard's contract's up, so you're looking at a very bad situation in Dallas. You got a quarterback that can't prove himself, and you got 2 running backs that's getting ready to hit the market.
But they have a heck of a defense, though. I mean, they're literally just 1 or 2 key pieces on offense away, and I mean that team would be unstoppable. Again, we've talked about this before. Number 1 team for me that I hate the most is the Dallas Cowboys. So I can't stand to say it, but man, that's a solid defense. They have a great team. They just need a couple pieces on offense.
Yep. I mean, that's Dallas. Jerry Jones needs to get him a GM.
Jerry Jones just needs to be an owner and sit in the owner's box and stay out of the business of the team.
Well, that's the thing, man. Is I will say this until the day that I die, until Jerry dies or whatever and moves on. Jerry Jones is calling the plays from the press box.
Oh, always.
So, and I said the same thing about Mike Brown in Cincinnati there for a while until the team just now started a little bit of success. And now I think Mike Brown, who has actually hired a GM now, and now you see what it's done for the Bengals. It's totally changed their whole organization.
I said that the whole time. Bill Parcells was the coach there. He used to come down the middle of the game and would sit there and whisper in his ear in the middle of the game. I mean, come on, let your coach do his job. That's what you hire him for. You're paying these guys $5-6 million a year. I mean, let them do their job. Let them be a coach.
Right.
So I don't know. That's the situation. Dallas has always been a mess with that kind of stuff, and when you got your owner trying too much to have too much say in the team, that that's detrimental to a team. You know, I've always looked at a lot of these teams that have head coaches that are a lot hands off. You know, even you look at the Patriots. Yeah, Ron Kraft is always involved, but he's never one of those that's going to be telling the coach what to do in the middle of a game.
I've never seen an owner do that. That's
Yeah,
the thing. The owner's responsibility is to make sure the team's profits and stuff are up,
yeah,
and to make sure the personnel and the players are getting what they need or what they're supposed to be getting. They have no business on that football field saying, "Hey, run this play. Hey, do this."
yeah. But yeah, as far as
I
that
will.
goes, I mean, head
Unless,
coaching jobs, I don't really
go
see a whole lot of momentum. Hopefully, once Deshaun Payton finally figures out what he's doing, that'll kind of straighten out some of that, and then you'll start seeing some more hires, and everybody will find their landing spot.
big hire this week for the Panthers. They hired Frank Reich as their new head coach. I think that's going to change that organization a little bit.
Oh yeah,
Well, he does have the very first passing touchdown in Carolina Panthers. He
He
was
does.
their he was their first quarterback to
Yep.
throw one.
Yep.
And he has had not only that, he's obviously been a place to been with the Chargers, been with the Colts, been back with the Bills, been back and forth everywhere. Man's got a hell of a resume. I think that's gonna. I think Carolina will be
Yeah.
decent. They're gonna have a rebuild year, but I think
Yep.
I think there's something to look forward to.
so
I mean, look what Frank Reich did with the Colts.
yeah,
I mean, they, he took that team, and after Peyton left, it was pretty much garbage. He comes into the Colts, and not last year, but the year before last, he takes them to almost to the playoffs. Comes in, has a winning record, but don't get to the playoffs because the AFC's a tough. AFC's tough.
yeah. So you basically got pretty much 4 spots that are open right now. That's kind of the main what's left of the coaching carousel. Out of those 4, you guys tell me who's your best positioned team that if you were to take over as head coach today, where would you want to go? Out of the 4 that are
Denver.
left, Denver. Nanner, what you think?
I do want to say Denver, right? I really do because of Russell Wilson because everyone knows the player he could be, and he's been in the league a long time. But I don't think so. I could see maybe the Cardinals. You
Yeah,
have Kyler Murray. You still have a young quarterback. You know what you got in him. Now he has not had a good year, but the fact of the matter is you have a foundation.
yeah.
Russell's towards the end of his time. We know it's coming at some point. I don't see him playing until he's 40. Um,
No,
but I think the Cardinals have that foundation for the offense. They just need to plug in the players. That's all they're missing is 1 or 2 guys that can make or break that team. And Murray needs to get healthy. If 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 you asked me before Murray was drafted, I'd say Denver. But honestly, I think the Cardinals are a very likable area to be out of. They just have that foundation already.
now
Well,
living.
here's the problem with Arizona. Here's the problem with Arizona is, can you coach Kyler Murray? He seems to want to do his own things all the time. Plus, a recent tweet by him, Call of Duty stats are more important than my NFL stats. Like, where does that come at?
Uh, I think with him tearing his ACL, he's been out all year. I don't think it was a gimmick of like, oh, like my NFL doesn't matter, my career doesn't matter. His career is his career.
Right.
I think people take a lot of the social media that people post, players that post. People read in between. They try and read and they try to come up with the inference of what it actually means. Uh, I think he does care. I think you need to put the right coach though. I don't think Kingsbury did the job. Obviously, he didn't. They went 4-13. Definitely didn't do the job. And the coach before didn't do the job. They haven't had anybody, honestly, since even Carson Palmer went from the Bengals to the Cardinals. Um, they they really haven't had anyone as a coach. I I honestly before Kingsbury and I don't even remember who the last coach was.
That's
Uh,
green,
yeah, like
I believe.
the last big coach was when Kurt Warner was there in '09. Like
Yeah.
that's you need to have the right coach. And I just don't think he liked Kingsbury. I don't think he liked the coach out there. And that's why he does that.
Well,
Yeah.
here's
I
the
think he's
thing with
got the
that
right
though,
coach.
because he doesn't get drafted if Kingsbury's not their coach, because he vouched for Kyler Murray, and so to see him, I don't know, man. Like in this last season, you can't really put that on Kingsbury because you lost Kyler Murray for the season in what, the fourth or fifth game,
Yeah.
something like that.
Yeah.
Now they do have
So
a scheduled interview with Sean Payton. They did schedule one.
they do. Hmm.
So if they get Sean Payton, I think the Cardinals can almost rotate that ship to be. And I don't think about making a deep playoff run, but I think they could be that wild card that they bring Sean Payton, and then as they build with him. But they need that coach, that head honcho. Say, this is what we're gonna do. We're doing it as a team. I don't think Barry brought that mentality there. I don't think he brought a winning mentality. He just kind of was there. He didn't really
Yeah.
do too much. He didn't really do too little. He was there.
And they just kind of sold out on him. Yeah,
It was.
I could see that. I honestly, in my opinion, I mean, yeah, I like Denver, of course, but I like the Texans' job. I think if they get a good draft pick, which they're picking second, I think if they pick wisely, and I think they're willing to finally put some money behind it. I think if you could get maybe next season to where you get at least 3 to 4 more wins, you would save your job enough where you could have a second shot at it. I think with this draft class and the next draft class, because we all know they're not going to probably finish much above the top 10. They're going to get another top 10 pick next year as well. So you're looking at 2 seasons back to back with top 10 picks. If they can pick wisely and not do some stupid stuff like they've done in the past, like Deshaun Watson and people like that, which nobody knew that was going to turn out the way that it did. But if you get a couple good picks in there, a couple of good draft classes in there, I think the Texans have a real good shot at making something with that team in the next couple of years. I think that's a good building job. If you wanted to be a coach to come in and build a team, I think that's a place you're probably going to have the best opportunity to build.
You have a huge fan base there too. Like that is one thing that like even the Chargers don't have. We don't have a fan base.
Yeah.
You get a place with a high market, a lot of people. Houston is.
Oh yeah.
You know?
I live an hour and a half north of Houston, and man, you go outside to Katy and you start driving down some of them highways and they're 26 lanes wide.
I-405.
It's crazy how huge Houston is. I looked at an overlay of a map one time, and the overlay of Rhode Island was basically enough to cover the Houston metro area. Yep. Houston is huge.
Where would you place? So we talked about the country you brought up earlier. Where would you place? You have C.J. Stroud, but Bryce Young out of Alabama. I think Bryce Young goes before C.J. Stroud, but I think either the Texans or the Colts will take. It's gonna be one or the other. I think Bryce Young is either gonna go before Will or Will Lewis is gonna go before. One of those two teams are both gonna draft a quarterback. You know it's coming. I don't. There's no one that stands out. Like I don't. There's no eye popping names like you'll hear a lot going up to the draft. Like this is like number one. This. There's not a lot of quarterbacks. Not the way it has been for the likes of Burrow, Mahomes, Herbert.
Right.
Everybody was excited to see these guys. There's not that big popping name, but and as we see now this weekend, we have somebody that is Mr. Irrelevant, is making waves.
Yeah, that's impressive.
Showing up in the freaking championship game as a rookie.
Yeah.
See, everybody's excited and didn't expect Brock Purdy to do what he did. Unfortunately, I knew what Brock Purdy could bring to the game because I used to watch Iowa State football when he was there. So I knew that he was a good football player. He was accurate. He can get the job done. I knew what he can do. But the thing of it is, what real defenses did he face besides the Cowboys this past week? What defenses did he face in that stretch of run?
Chargers.
That was okay. So he faced the Chargers.
Cowboys.
He faced the Chargers and the Cowboys. All them other defenses he faced were garbage. I don't see them getting past the Eagles this week.
I have the Eagles picked, but I picked that from the very beginning. I just don't think he's a good game manager right now, and I think he'll be an excellent quarterback in the long run. The kid just has that that moxie, just that touch. Like there's just something about the kid. You watch him, he's cool, calm, and collected. He don't talk, he don't say much, he just plays.
Yeah. Even when in his interviews, he doesn't say anything.
No, and this next draft class coming out, you were talking about that. C.J. Stroud is kind of maybe just the uh, the flashy pick, I guess, if you wanted to say that.
Yeah.
And I think Bryce Young is just going to be, he's just going to be Mr. Consistent. He's kind of one of those guys that he's probably not going to be super flashy, but I think he'll make a good NFL quarterback. I think it's just, anybody that plays at Alabama, if you're at Alabama, you're automatically just kind of on that cusp of NFL anyways.
Unfortunately, in my opinion, I think Bryce Young is overtalked.
Yeah, I could see that, but
I think he's overtalked.
So compared to the last few, like even back in 2004, you've all grown up. I've grown up with likes of Tom Brady, Eli Manning, Peyton, Phillip Rivers, Donovan McNabb when he was around. All these big time guys that came in. You can't even compare it to history repeats itself. Right now you have Burrow, Mahomes, who are going. I don't see another Burrow. I don't see another Herbert. I don't see another Mahomes or even another Jalen Hurts draft this year's draft.
no,
Maybe
not
next
right
year.
now.
But there's no one that, like I said, there's no one that like is eye popping. Like you said, CJ Stroud, the flashy pick. Everyone knows who CJ Stroud is, what he's done. But
Right.
again, how many times have we looked at Johnny Manziel? He was that flashy pick.
Yeah.
Yep.
No,
gone.
Well, that's the thing is,
Achilles Smith back in the '90s. He was a flashy pick back then. He was trash. He was terrible when he got in the NFL.
you look at a guy like C.J. Stroud. I mean, he's a prototypical Ohio State quarterback. Everybody knows him because he's Ohio State. For some reason, Ohio State with their fan base, they're one of those loud. The squeaky wheel gets the grease. That's what Ohio State is in college football. We're going to be loud enough, and we're gonna be the one that everybody talks about. So obviously he's going to be in that conversation as the flashy pick. You might call him the sexy pick, but I mean whatever you want to say about him. A lot of those guys come and they fizzle out.
Yep.
So
I think right now, like moving on into the championship, I think obviously we've seen Herbert, and then we've seen what bad coaching does. We've seen Trevor Lawrence. I think Jalen Hurts. You now have Brock Purdy on the table, even Mahomes, Burrow, Josh Allen. I think what we're seeing is like Burrow and Mahomes is your Manning and Brady, right?
yeah,
They're going to be your rival moving for the next 10, 15. And then you have Josh Allen, who's kind of like the Phillip Rivers.
yeah,
Nothing weird about him. He just can't win big games, and he's proven that the last 3 years they've gone in and they lose. They've gone in. It doesn't matter who they place up there. They have one of the best wide receivers, one of the best running backs, one of the best defenses. It didn't matter who they placed. They just lose playoff. And unfortunately, they almost lost against Miami. Like that was
yeah. They should have lost that game.
Yeah. And then you have Herbert, who's kind of like the Eli Manning, where he's kind of he's good. He's gonna be good, and that's just he's not gonna be bad, and he's not gonna be the best. He's just gonna be good, like good enough to get you in, and then after that, he needs the personnel to make it happen. Mahomes, he finds ways to win. He is your Tom Brady. Tom Brady did the same thing for you. He found every opportunity. It didn't matter who was at receiver, who was injured. He found the way to win. And that also came with good coaching. Then you now have Burrow. Cincinnati came out of nowhere.
Yeah.
Once they had Burrow, they were putting piece and piece together. Jamar Chase, Joe Mixon, D. Higgins. You used to have AJ Green. You guys were slowly, very over the last 6 years, have built something that the NFL hasn't seen before. To go from, like you said, going to the Super Bowl and start 0-2 the next season, and now making it back to the championship game. Burrow has something to prove. And I don't like him, but I think we're fixing to see the true who's going to be the best.
This Burrow versus Mahomes is the next Brady versus Peyton Manning era.
Yeah. They're both good, great young quarterbacks. I mean, you can't argue with either of them. I like you look at what was the final 8 this year, all the quarterbacks were under 30. With the
Yeah.
exception of Dak Prescott, I think all of them. I mean, and don't get me wrong, is Dak Prescott one of the top 32 quarterbacks in the NFL? Yeah, of course. I mean, regular season numbers prove it. He's never had a terrible regular season. Man just can't, and maybe it's just the Cowboys in general can't win in the playoffs. It's that Cowboys curse. I don't know. Maybe he goes to a different team. Does he turn into something different?
Maybe if they don't have to play the 49ers, maybe they'll get that.
I always said, I always look forward to the playoffs and the Cowboys screwing up at some point. That's just it brings joy to my heart.
But there's something interesting. I've said it since the first day of the season. Defense wins championships.
Yeah.
The last 9 games the 49ers have gone in, they've kept opponents under
Yeah.
20 points.
Well, Brock Purdy didn't have an amazing game this last game. I mean, not compared to what he did the first round.
And really, he doesn't have to.
No.
He's got a defense playing lights out football, and not just one half or this half. Every half, every game, these guys are playing lights out defense, and I'm really excited to see what that defense puts together against Hurts.
Yeah, that's going to be a tough one because Hurts looked good last week.
Yeah,
even for the shoulder. He looked good. Yeah, that wasn't even a game. That was not even.
The Giants are who we thought they were.
Yeah, they are who we thought they were. No, but yeah, I mean, other than that, let's talk about a little bit about maybe like Tua. What do you guys think happens in Miami with him? Speaking of young quarterbacks,
honestly, I won't say he rides the bench because I don't think he's a bench quarterback. I think his time is done, especially if he takes another shot to the head. He's 3 concussions
this year?
And he didn't even play in the playoffs. And I don't think it's a rule about his health. I think either the NFL or the game management teams that have recently this year have gone out to see players that showed symptoms of concussion. I don't think they're doing a great management job of it. They let him back in.
No.
And he turned around and got hurt the next week. And it's like, where was the testing? What happened between that week? You guys were one of the top dogs in the AFC actually.
Yeah.
And then they played the Chargers. He wasn't looking too good. I feel like he's been dealing with this week 9, week 8. Like I feel like there's something going on with him. I honestly think he takes a year off football.
Yeah.
Something's bad. Something's bad with the whole situation. Like they really need to look into the Dolphins training trainers and stuff and find out what's going on, because you don't push a guy to go back out there and play like you did him. And I understand that we all want to win and everything, but that man's health comes before the 4 championships, unfortunately. And I have to, a lot of people don't look at it that way.
Yeah, you don't want to see a young kid like that, man, screw up his whole entire life, over a game. I mean, it is what it is. Everybody wants to see the quarterback succeed and to continue on. But I mean, we talked about this Nanaman beforehand. We both have somewhat of a medical background. I'm not a doctor by any means, but just looking at the injuries that he sustained just in the first part of this year, I mean, those were scary. Like watching that on the field, that was a scary thing to watch. That time when he curled them hands up, I mean, that to me is just, if he got back up, I was like, man, that's amazing if that guy even is able to get back on his feet after that.
Yeah, I was talking to my doctor one time about concussions, and he was like, yeah, he took the Tua situation in Cincinnati. He's like, that man should not be on the football field the rest of the season after that game.
Yeah. So when you lock out, especially like this, this right here, and you're locked like this, and you're basically stone cold.
Yeah.
You should have been one. Obviously, he was removed from the field, but I honestly thought something else happened. I really did because after that, the Mar Hamlin the next 2 weeks, it was like, all right, what is going on with the medical staff?
Yeah.
What is happening? Because it's not just Tua now. You had DeMar Hamlin go down, and he took a simple shot to the chest.
Yeah.
What is going on to make these guys get hurt? Like literally risking their life. DeMar Hamlin died on that field.
Yeah.
Was brought back to life. Like this dude died on national television.
Yeah.
I was at that.
Not that it's a concussion back and forth, but it just shows the amount of impact that these players take. And to throw Tua right after that back into a game later on in the next 2 weeks, as even a head coach and even a GM who spending the money. Like, hey, we're paying this guy $20 million. We kind of want to keep him around. Our season, yes, we might be 10-6 or 10-5,
On a
but it's not
short
worth
week
the
at that.
risk.
It
I
was
would
a
have started
short
Skyler
week.
a long time ago
Yeah.
because we all knew it was coming.
Yeah.
I mean, you let the kid. He got hurt Sunday. You come out, you play Cincinnati on a Thursday night. So you have like 3 or 4 days to evaluate this guy, and then you just throw him back out there again. And the first play of the second quarter, he gets another concussion. Like, they have got to start getting. They got to get better with their medical within Miami.
Well, I mean, even before he got to the point where he's curling up his hands, you look at the hip that knocked him out before that. I mean, he was stumbling around on the field. How do you just let him go right? I mean, I know sometimes you get hit like that. I didn't play football as a kid. I played soccer, but I got hit in the head a lot. And I can remember a couple times getting concussed or knocked out. We didn't call it that when I was a kid because we just did whatever. It was okay, slap some dirt on it, go back out on the field. That's just. But now that we're more aware of that kind of stuff, you start seeing some of this stuff, and it's like these guys are much bigger than even when I was a kid watching some of these NFL players and professional athletes. These guys are moving faster. They train harder. They're hitting at a much harder, heavier rate than they were even 10 years ago. I mean, these are just some big boys that are running around the field, crushing each other. And it's scary to watch some of the stuff that they let go, and they just kind of, hey, slap some dirt on it and go back out there.
Yeah, I did play football in high school, and I was really good. I enjoyed it. I played safety and tight end at the time. And I remember my freshman year, it changed my outlook on football, on why I would never want to take a professional or try to achieve that on a hard road. But I ran an out route, and I remember this kid. His name was AJ. How we knew it, number 12, number 83. Ran an out route, and the only thing I remember, pass coming in, and I got smoked helmet.
Yeah.
And I woke up, and the play was over. I thought, like everyone was already people were already getting the trainer to come out. I had no idea. I thought it just happened. I'm just got up. I didn't know I was out for a good 10 to 15 minutes. I had no idea where the hell I was. Nothing. And it was kind of like at that point, it was like, do I really want to do this for the next 3 years in high school? Do I want to take? I just didn't want the risk because by the time I do become 30 years old, and say you make like that, it doesn't feel as good as in high school. You fall now, it's like, oh golly.
Yeah. I mean, like I said, the sport I played, I can remember one time I went up for a ball. Guy came down on my shoulders, hit me in the back of my neck. I got knocked out. I was out. My dad said he thought they were going to have to cart me out the field. He started running out the field. I was down for probably 30, 45 seconds. But I still have residual neck pains and stuff like that from that. And that was, I'm 44 years old now, so you're talking close to 30 years ago, and I still have some things from that. I can't imagine these guys coming at each other full blast, hitting helmet to helmet like that, or getting tackled, slinging that head back on the ground. I mean, those injuries, man, they can be life threatening for sure, and lifelong.
I mean, just take a look at the Derwin James hit. I'm sure everyone watched that hit. I was actually at that game when Derwin James smoked the crap out of the Colts running back.
Yeah.
You heard that hit. Laid him both out. Both ended up with concussions. And it's like, and I understand, we play the game of football, but, where's the time where it's like, all right, that's enough? Like, where's that? Because no one knows it. It's like, where you can hit, because it's been proven now that you can hit someone in the chest and something happens.
Yeah.
It's hard to balance that factor of injuries. And it's even worse for the head because you don't know it's the head. You get hit in the head and you're fine, and then two days later you're sleeping and you die because
and they just got to
level of freaking concussion.
They just got to keep working through their protocols, and making changes as necessary. Obviously, they're going to have to take a much deeper look at stuff like that because, like I said, these guys are just built different, and you have these guys shooting themselves like a missile at each other, and that's some pretty heavy impacts. Yeah. So moving on, let's talk about a little bit another quarterback that's injured, coming up this weekend, Mr. Mahomes. He's got that ankle sprain. We kind of talked about this a little bit before. My opinion personally is the guy at half speed, 75% speed is better than a lot of quarterbacks in the country. I'm a Kansas City Chiefs hater, but Patrick Mahomes, that dude is just doing some stupid things out there. And if he goes out and plays anything even close to what he's normally at, that dude's hard to handle.
Oh yeah. And unfortunately for you Cincinnati fans, so as far as I know, he's been a full participant when I was watching the reports and stuff.
Yes.
And he looks fine. He's running. And a high ankle sprain sucks, but if you can wrap it up, they do cortisone injections just like the shoulder.
Yeah.
That can get rid of it. And then it'll give them 2.5, 3 weeks if they do win for the Super Bowl for prep. But Cincy before has proved again, if you plan for future, you better send those refunds, like they said. But I think Mahomes will be fine.
Well, and they got that extra day of rest too that he was talking about, because they did play on Saturday, so he gets at least one more extra day. And these guys, the type of training they put in, the type of training staff that they have, that's a huge deal. An extra 24 hours.
I think the most thing to know about this week is him planting.
Yeah,
because it's his plant leg. So, I think if Cincinnati can dial up some blitzes and get to him, I really think if they can get blitzes on him and get to him, I think the Bengals actually would blow.
I mean, he'll jump up in the air and throw the ball 30 yards downfield with no base.
You also got to figure Jacksonville's defense ain't nothing like Cincinnati.
No.
So what he did last week is like irrelevant, because now you're playing an actual top 10 defense that's not going to give you the open opportunity. We're not going to let Kelsey catch 14 catches. I promise you that.
Yeah.
Well, so, in all the games combined, I don't think Kelsey has 8 catches in all 3 games combined that they played.
But speaking of it, he may not be playing. He's questionable as of today. Kelsey, he was out.
Well, he said today he was going to play. He practiced today. He's got a back issue.
The thing about what I think, if Cincy can do it, because you guys have Sam Hubbard, DJ Reader, BJ Hill, and Trey Hendrickson. If you could move Sam Hubbard and Hendrickson on the same side, both astounding, especially Hendrickson, can get to the quarterback. DJ Reader can roll that edge, but you get Sam Hubbard and Hendrickson on one side, and you dial in a corner blitz with even Eli Apple. Not the best, coverage safety, but you either throw Eli Apple at him or Mike Hilton, someone that's got some speed. I think the Chiefs line is going to have some difficulties. Like said, you can get to Mahomes. I think it'll be.
I just look at that Patrick Mahomes throw last week, and this tells me a lot of things. Well, 2 of them. There's 2 of them. Jumping up in the air, the man's about 1.5 feet, 2 feet in the air, throws it 30 yards downfield. That's one. The other one where he's basically standing shoulder width apart behind the line, sidearms it, 15 yards, whatever, 10 yards, on the money. I mean, in stride, didn't even miss the stride. Just some of the things that I've seen this kid do, man, are just, it's sick. It's like you can't stop it, because when you think you've got him stopped, he does something stupid like that. He'll throw it over the shoulder, backwards, not even looking where he's passing, and hit it on the money. Throw left-handed, he's throwing right-handed. The dude's throwing from everywhere. Like, he's just put.
Look.
Yeah, like he underhanded. Like he'll bowl it to somebody and get it there. Like it's amazing to me.
I agree with you.
I mean, just like, and I'm excited. Like, as a football fan, I'm excited to see what these young quarterbacks bring for the next several decade. Man, I think it's going to be an exciting thing to watch. Just, I love offense. Pac-12 guy, love offense. There's really not much defense in the Pac-12, so I love to watch them throw the ball back and forth up and down the field, 50 points on either team a game. And I'm excited to see what these young guys can bring for the next couple of years. Obviously, barring any significant injuries like Tua or those kind of guys. But, man, there's so many good young quarterbacks right now with laser arms that can move, that can do things that, I'm a John Elway fan, grew up, love watching John Elway. he was not a huge mobile quarterback. I love Peyton Manning, but the dude ran probably less than I ran in my entire life. It's just so I'm looking forward to it.
Now, what I will give the Bengals, which is what they did earlier this year, and they beat Joe Burrow and Jamar Chase relationship as a combo. He caught 11 balls for 228 yards and 3 touchdowns in that game.
Yeah,
Totally blew the stat line.
Yeah.
One of his best career games against the
Mhm.
Chiefs. And if the Chiefs do not stop Jamar Chase and force Burrow to throw to like T. Higgins, and even T. Higgins is good. He's a very good route runner and he's quick. If you could shut Chase down, I think the Chiefs have a chance. But if you let Jamar Chase pop off like he did in the week prior, what was it, week 17, week 16, something like that, 2 weeks ago,
Yeah.
15
a
or
while ago.
16, yeah.
If you let them pop off like that, I don't think the Chiefs will. I don't. If you can't stop Chase, you're not in because not only do you got to worry about Jamar Chase and T. Higgins, you also have Joe Mixon who ran for a combined total last week 172 yards against the Buffalo defense. Hasn't really allowed over 100 rushing.
So let's talk a little bit.
It's one of those balancing factors.
Let's talk a little bit about one of our aged quarterbacks here. Let's talk about Mr. Rodgers for a second. So there's been some rumors of him possibly being tied to the Jets now as a possible landing spot for him. He has come out recently and said that in the right situation that he could still win another MVP. I don't see that. I mean, I think he's a great quarterback. Do I see him as MVP caliber over some, like we talked about? We got to remember, we got these young quarterbacks that are coming up. These guys are going to be, Patrick Mahomes is always going to be there. Joe Burrow is going to be in that conversation. You got a lot of these young quarterbacks that are going to be in the conversation for MVPs. I don't know if provided the right situation that Rodgers has enough time left or enough skill left at this point in his career to be an MVP caliber quarterback. Do I think he could be a game manager? I was not happy when Denver went out and got Peyton Manning, but he was a game manager at that point in his career. What do you guys think?
Well, I think that Aaron can still play. He can't throw the deep ball no more. We've seen that the last game he played against the Lions. Two and both of them were on deep passes and they were on. I think in the right situation, Aaron Rodgers can win an MVP again. In the right situation. Where is that right situation at? Who the hell knows?
I mean, you got to look at him. He's a cold weather quarterback right now. Jets are going to be a cold weather team. Obviously, they're going to be colder than if you went to like Tampa Bay or Miami or something like that. But I don't know if the Jets would be the right fit for him long term. I mean, yeah, they got a good offense around him that he could build with, but then again, you're taking him basically from Green Bay to Green Bay, weather-wise.
Does all the Green Bay quarterbacks just go to the Jets?
I guess. It seems like. Right. That's the place for Green Bay quarterbacks to go to die.
Thanks,
I think Aaron Rodgers does have a lot left. He has a lot of fight. He always has. He'll always be good. He just is good.
Yeah.
He may not win. He may have not been winning the biggest games, but you also got to understand he has a 32-year-old receiver in Todd. And the other receivers who don't know the regular field, they know the practice field.
Yeah.
I think if you stuck him with, I would hate to see it happen. But if you brought the Raiders in focal point, and then getting rid of Carr, and wheel and deal Carr, and Aaron Rodgers reignite with Devontae Adams down there, just to teach who was the backup that came in and lit up the scoreboard for the Raiders. I forget his name.
No, I don't.
I don't remember his name. The next game that they benched Derek Carr, he went off. But I think if you bring Aaron Rodgers down to the Raiders, which I don't think will happen, but if they did, the Raiders would be very dynamic. I think he still has a lot left in gas. He just needs a supporting cast.
Yeah.
Jared Stidham is that quarterback. Yeah. I believe that.
You say anything?
He's the guy they got from the Patriots. It was backed up Garoppolo for a little bit.
You say anything Raiders, I pretty much just tune out. but no, that'd be it. I feel sorry for Carr. I mean, I don't think that he got a fair shake there, really, and I don't know where his heart's at with it. I hope they deal him somewhere and he goes somewhere good and does well because he's another one of those youngish quarterbacks. The only reason I really know who he is because his brother played in Houston for so long. So Carr's a great quarterback. I think he could be a good fit somewhere as well. Rodgers would be a good. I think he'd be a good plug in the Raiders. I could see Miami if Tua can't go. I could see, someone like the Raiders, something like that for a good situation for him. But the Jets, I don't know if I buy that.
No.
Yeah, Sauce Gardner is the one that's pleading for Aaron Rodgers. So
Yeah, I hope they don't. He doesn't do that because I think that I hate to see as good as Aaron Rodgers has been. I hate to see him go somewhere that he can't be Aaron Rodgers. I don't want to see that. I don't want to see him go out.
But if he goes with the Jets, he's got an excellent running back in Hall.
Yeah.
He's only 20 years old, so he's going to be great. Then you got Davis, Elijah Moore, for receivers, and then you got Conklin. I think it's Conklin. I think it's the tight end there, I believe. So I mean, you got players around him. He's going to have receivers, and they're fast. They're fast.
So let's move on and talk a little bit about the recent mock draft put up by Mel Kiper. Let me see if I can put that up on the screen here real quick. So he has Jalen Carter going number 1 to the Bears. I think that's pretty solid. Everything I've seen about him, D tackle.
Solid pick, but I'm going to tell you that's not going to happen because the Bears are going to trade with probably the Colts. I believe they're going to get a couple round draft picks and something for that first round pick, and I think that's where you see the Colts jump up and get their quarterback right there, and then the Bears still drop down to 4th and can get and probably can still get Jalen Carter at the number 4 spot, and then have other picks on top of that. So
yeah, and then he's got C.J. Stroud going too. I can see that. I can see the Texans. That sounds like something the Texans will do. They'll probably go for the flashy pick, and they need a quarterback, obviously. And then at number 3, we have Arizona possibly picking Will Anderson Jr., the edge out of Alabama. You look at anything SEC, I like most of the SEC defenses. I mean, they're stout. They're going to be big guys that come in and produce well.
He's a solid outside linebacker, man. He's really good. He had a bad last game in college, but other than that, he's a good player.
So you had mentioned Indianapolis possibly trying to jump up to get their quarterback. Do you think they would jump to 1 to get Bryce Young if they think he could fall to 4?
No, I think they jump up and they take C.J. Stroud.
You think they take Stroud over Young?
Because I think the Houston's actually looking to take Stroud, and they're in the same division. So why not why not jump up there and grab the player that they want?
That's a possibility. I think when we talked about this earlier, I think Bryce Young will be a solid NFL quarterback. Is he going to be number 1 pick worthy? I don't know about that. But I think
a problem with Bryce Young is seeing over that offense. He's only 6 foot.
Yeah, but you look at like Kyler Murray and those kind of guys.
Now, what this doesn't show, right? I love Mel Kiper. He does do good mock drafts. However, it doesn't ever align with what his creation.
Yeah,
there's a lot of big names that are snacking free agents. Justin Jefferson, right?
Yeah.
Stephon Diggs, all these big name players, Dak Prescott, Ezekiel Elliott. You have a lot of these guys that still have a lot of kick in their system that are left. That if the team did not want to spin that, so and in my sense, like such as the Chargers, do we need a defensive tackle? Do we need an interior line? Absolutely. Do we need an offensive line? Absolutely. I think we trade out, and I think we're not going to be doing that does. I think a lot of these teams that have made the playoffs, Jacksonville being one of them. You have Chiefs, Chiefs usually kind of it depends on how Andy feels. Um, but I think depending on who and if these big names resign with their home team is going to depict whether or not some big people start trading out. Because if
Right.
they don't, there's no reason for me to go draft somebody that I don't know that I'm going to have to train. And I know if I go pick up Justin Jefferson, he's still 28 years old. He knows the game. I'm going to spend a little bit more, obviously. But now I can trade out and probably get another player from a team that needs to rebuild and one of their good players to also add to that. So I think the Chargers, Jacksonville, and maybe even the likes of Chicago.
Yeah.
Chicago, they don't really know, they don't have an identity yet, but they do have a quarterback.
Yeah.
Not the best, but I think somewhere along those lines, you're either going to trade up to take someone really good, uh, and if you don't, you're going to sign someone. You're going to make a big free agent splash. Chicago's one of the teams that's got that big cap.
Yeah.
Along with the Raiders, a lot of teams have these big caps, but I think the Colts do draft quarterback. Houston drafts quarterback. But I think a lot of those teams are going to want to pick up another first round draft pick. I think they're going to want to trade for like the Chargers, Jacksonville. They don't really need it. They because being at that 20 to 32 pick, you don't really there's not a difference really between the 32 pick or the 32nd pick and the first pick of the second round.
Right.
Not a huge difference in performance. So I think a lot of
Yeah.
like Chicago Bears take number one, obviously good pick, but I think Chicago will make a trade with somebody down the line, that other first round draft pick, and maybe pick a wide receiver.
Well, then you look at number 5. You got Seattle coming in at number 5 with the number 5 pick via Denver. They got Will Levis, the quarterback out of Kentucky. Do you see? I know Gino had a better season this year than what many people were anticipating. I think he's a serviceable quarterback. Do you look at like a number 5 picking up somebody to kind of that you can build with for the future?
I don't think Will's it. I
You
don't
don't
think
think
Will's it.
so?
Not for Seattle. I think
No.
if Seattle was going to pick a quarterback, they're going to take someone like CJ Stroud. I think there's going to be a lot of fight for CJ Stroud. There's going to be a lot of movement,
Yes.
and I think a team's going to
Hmm.
shop him. I don't think
Yep.
I don't think Houston really wants him. I don't. I think Houston's going to go other ways. Um, but I think they start shopping him. And I think with Geno Smith even in free agency, he's going to. I don't think he gets re-signed. I think he'll re-sign with a different team, obviously, but Seattle is going to re-sign him. But um, Seattle has a lot of options at play here.
Mhm.
They really do, because they do have DK Metcalf. They have a foundation set with a
Yes.
decent, not
I
the best, but a decent. So I think they take someone like the CJ Stroud. And if they don't take CJ Stroud, maybe they look at free agency such as Dak Prescott.
Yeah.
don't think the Seattle takes Will Levis there. I think Will Levis is going to Carolina at number 9. To be honest with you, maybe an Anthony Richardson, maybe for Seattle there. He's the quarterback out of Florida.
Yeah, that's another
Um,
good.
he's a guy that can. He's a good developing quarterback, and that's what he needs because Florida doesn't really have quarterback coaches that are decent down there for their college. Um, this kid, I'm telling you, man, this Anthony Richardson. I watched him quite a few games at Florida. When they came up here, they played the University of Kentucky a couple of times. He can throw the ball, and he's
Yeah.
fast. He's not a bad quarterback. With the right system and a right quarterback coach, he could be your steal quarterback of the draft.
Yeah. I mean, he had a kind of quiet college career. You didn't really hear a whole lot about him. Um, but, they have him going 9 to Carolina, which obviously Carolina needs some help at that position as well. So I mean, you have several of these teams that are. I don't know what Atlanta's at 8. They have them with the edge. I mean, they have Matt Ryan. There's a lot of teams that need that quarterback. The one to move them
Well, the
forward.
Falcons have got Ritter, John Ritter now or whatever, the rookie, and he was okay.
Desmond,
Desmond
or
Ritter,
yeah,
yeah.
you're
Yeah.
Now the other big splash, and it's gonna really the ball's in Cowboys and Giants court, is really what's gonna shape up this draft of quarterbacks because both the Giants and Cowboys are losing quarterbacks. The Giants recently not only said that they're not extending Barkley, but Saquon wanted a $26 million per year. They denied it. They've been in negotiations, so expect them to be in that mix. And a lot of teams are going to want that running back. Daniel Jones as well was expected to sign a contract. He did not sign. He didn't like what they were giving him, and
Right.
there hasn't been any negotiation since. So if Daniel Jones does actually hit free agency, that's another quarterback that could potentially pick a team that's got a foundation. Uh, and if say someone like you had say like Seattle could trade their first round draft pick uh, to them or
Mhm.
to the Giants, right? I don't think Daniel Jones gets re-signed by the Giants, and I think Seattle or one of these teams that have that foundation already set, the quarterback, I think they go after Dak, or there's gonna be some war over them. And I think this
Yeah.
Right.
shapes the draft up for us. Any of the
Yeah, and
quarterbacks.
I think that's the thing. Honestly, I look at this class. I don't see, maybe 3, 4 quarterbacks. That's kind of a stretch in my opinion with this draft class. So it's going to be hard for people to really push that high for some of these, and they will. They'll do it. Somebody will do it. The Texans will always. They're going to always go pick up somebody. That's just the Texans. But teams will reach for these quarterbacks. I think they will because they need them. But like you said, there's a lot that can come through free agency as well. So it'll be interesting to see what they do with the quarterbacks that are in this draft class, and then through free agency what they do as well. So
I think
Well, there's
Seattle goes with at number 5 there. I think they go with Byron Young, the linebacker DN from Tennessee.
yeah,
I mean, there's a lot of
So,
big names even on defense that are hitting. I mean, you have Dante
yeah.
Fowler, you have Denzel Perryman, you have Carlos Dunlap, he's older, but Tremaine
Right.
Edmonds, the bad, he's just a bad freaking linebacker for Buffalo who's hitting free agency. Um,
Yep.
you got some big names that are going to be looking for a new home because the team simply doesn't have the funds to sign all their playmakers back. And that's the thing.
Yep.
You get all these playmakers, such as the Bengals have Marcy. You guys are going to be top expensive when it comes to time. It's and a lot of these people have cap, so
And
I think
and they've recently come out and all the receivers and everybody, they wanna spend their time in Cincinnati. Like, every one of them has come out and said that. So, are they willing to take a pay cut? I mean, that's the question you gotta ask yourself.
like I said, if I'm like the Chargers, Jacksonville, uh, Cincinnati, even the Chiefs. Um, Another year like this last right before this year started, everyone was like, "Man, the AFC West is stacked." You had Denver pick up Russell.
yeah,
We took Khalil, J.C. Jackson, Derwin James resigned. The Chiefs went out and got Juju. Like there were so many placements where they're like, "Man, everyone in the AFC West definitely fell short of what was expected." So it's going to prove that free agency sometimes is not always the best option, but for some of these teams who are trying to get over that next hump, make that deep playoff run. This is the Bengals have. The thing with the Bengals is why they've gone deep so many years in a row. It they have if someone goes down, they have a first round draft pick that can step up. They have
Right.
built that foundation to have everyone has somebody that can step up. Same thing with the Chiefs. That's why the Chiefs are where they are. I think this will be a good year for not just good teams to improve the free agency plus the draft, but a lot of the bad teams have a lot of ways they can go. And if
yeah.
they have the money, uh, like Houston always has a lot of money. They will draft somebody. I think they end up
Yep.
drafting somebody that supports the quarterback that they sign for free agent.
So let's take a
A
look.
lot of a lot of teams nowadays look long term instead of short term free agency, you know what I mean?
Yep.
So, and like with the Cowboys situation, you got 2 of their main 2 running backs are about to hit free agents. So, you go into the draft, you let those 2 go, say you can't get them back, right? So, you let them go, you go out and you get, Bijan Robinson from Texas, the running back from Texas. I think that's where the Cowboys go first round.
Yeah, yeah, that's what he has picked. Is that Bijan number
Mhm.
26 of the Cowboys?
Yeah, he's the
Now, who
best
I am
running back
looking
in this draft.
Yeah,
is Marvin Harrison Jr. coming into this draft?
No. He
No.
is,
Okay.
he's staying 1 more year from what
Gotcha.
I
One more year.
from what I heard.
Man,
So
when that guy hits, woo!
oh,
I can't wait.
there's gonna be a lot of fights for the guy.
So let's take a look at last week's games. I know we're kind of jumping back and forth and getting out of the. We didn't go too far into the mock draft. As they come out more, we'll talk about them, especially in the off season as we get closer to the draft time. Um, but let's go ahead and talk about last week's games and just kind of give a quick little rundown of what we thought and what we saw going away. We won't spend a whole lot of time on them because I want to really get into this week's games coming up because I'm excited to see what championship round gives us. So let's go ahead and start out with Jacksonville and Kansas City. I'll give my take on it first, just because I picked Kansas City to be my Super Bowl winner. I've picked them since the beginning of the playoffs. I think Jacksonville looked good. It was a good game. It was closer probably than it would have been if Mahomes had stayed in the whole game and been 100% for the whole entire game. I really like Trevor Lawrence. I really look at him as an excellent young quarterback. I think he's got a good head on his shoulders. They were showing a picture of him giving every guy high fives on the way back into the locker room. I really look for him to do something great there in Jacksonville in the long run. And if not Jacksonville, I see him, he's going to be a good, solid young quarterback too for a long time as well. That's why I said I'm really excited with the future of the quarterbacks. But Kansas City looked, like Kansas City. Everybody kind of expected more. Like I said, Patrick Mahomes getting hurt, that didn't help him out either. But I thought it was a really good game overall. I think Henny coming in and doing what he did, that helped out just enough to where, Kansas City maintained that lead.
That 98-yard drive Henny put together. Right. Was it right before halftime or right after halftime? Yeah, that turned everything around in that game. That was probably the key drive of the game.
Yeah,
I agree. Trevor is a good quarterback. However, I think there are some faults, and he showed it in the first playoff game.
Yeah.
He ended up getting on track, obviously, but
Yeah.
I don't think. I think Jacksonville needs to make some plays, especially, and it showed in the Chiefs. He makes some plays on defense, and they need to go out. They need to spend some money for this.
Yeah.
They need to go get him some help, because if you look at it, he has Christian hurt.
Yep.
There's
Marvin Harrison Jr.
Yeah, they have Marvin Harrison, the other one. He's got so many sons coming in. They've got a lot of people that are good. He needs some more help. I think they need to offensive linemen. I think they need to go out and this year specifically, with as many defensive players are coming to free agency and they have the draft. I think they need to go out.
Not only that, they got the money to spend.
Yeah.
I think they're looking at like almost $60 million in cap.
Yeah.
For the Chiefs, though, I think moving forward, I think the Chiefs' ride's coming to an end, and I say that because I do like Mahomes, but you can tell where their weaknesses are, and their weakness is obviously not at quarterback. But I think this is going to be the year where after this, either the Chiefs, Andy Reid's going to retire at some point, but I think their dynasty has been faulted. I think people have figured out how to beat the Chiefs. Because at first it was like, damn, this dude's out on the field. He's throwing sidearms like dead. No look passes, jumping. People are slowly, and look at the Bengals, 3-0. Burrow is 3-0.
Yeah.
Versus them. So I think there's some faults there.
So you think Andy Reid's going to be chewing cheeseburgers on the beach here soon, huh?
Yeah, I do. He's just getting up there, and he's a great coach. He really is.
Yeah.
One of the best coaches out there. But I think the Chiefs dynasty is you can every team. Yeah, the Patriots. Now that they lost Tom Brady, no longer the dynasty.
Yeah.
Buccaneers, they had the 1 year, the good year with Brady, won the Super Bowl. That it's over. Everything comes to an end. Every good thing comes to an end. Always will.
Yeah.
Now, not to say he won't be a problem for everybody in the future, but I don't think it's going to be as easy for him to get where he's at.
Yep. And another thing is, look at Eric Bieniemy. Why is this man not up for a head coaching job? Why is this man not getting hired for a head coaching job? Look what he has done with that offense.
Yeah.
Like, it just don't make sense.
That's because they're still playing. So teams reached out for him for head coach, but because they're still playing, that's why a lot of teams haven't signed a head coach.
I'm talking about like last year. He interviewed for 4 jobs and they didn't hire him. The year before that, he interviewed for 5 jobs. They didn't hire him then. I don't. What's the situation that we have to have here that he has to get a job. Like he's
because
got
he
the
used to
top
be a head coach.
offense. He's got the top offense in the NFL. Like, why are we not letting this man move on to a head coaching job and see what he's got? You know what I'm saying? I mean,
I
it doesn't make sense to me.
it, he used to be a head coach. He didn't have a really long stint as a head coach. He wasn't very good. I think he's a better coordinator. That's why they kept him. But I think once Andy Reid leaves, when he retires, I think Eric takes over. I think he'll be the one to fill in. I think he'll end
Yeah,
up being a
and
head coach at some
I
point.
think I think you're right on that. To be honest with
They
you,
may be
It's better to keep
building.
him in house.
Yeah, they
He
may be
already has
building a
the
head
foundation.
coach in house. Yeah, that's true. So let's move on to talk about obviously a game that wasn't really much of a game. Philadelphia, New York, 38-7. It probably should have been a whole lot worse than that, in my opinion. That was a pretty generous score for New York. But Jalen Hurts, I mean, the guy, everybody talked about him being hurt. I think that extra week off gave him a little bit of time to recoup, and he looked good coming out. I mean, it wasn't perfect, it wasn't great, but he did enough in that game to be able to move him on. And I mean, 38 points, you can't argue with that.
yeah,
I will say one thing about Jalen, right? He was very underlooked coming into the draft. Very underlooked in the NFL. And rushing quarterbacks, unfortunately, don't last long.
No, no, no.
Three, you've seen it with every running back or running quarterback. Michael Vick was probably the longest tenured one, but
Yep.
RG3 no longer doing it.
Cunningham.
Cunningham, like he's good. He's good. Don't
Yeah,
get me wrong, but I think running like that is going to take a toll on the body. He is
of
good,
course, of course.
but I think really there's not much to say about the Eagles. Have put together a hell of a season out of nowhere. To be honest, like no one really expected this. Um,
Not this soon.
not this soon.
Well,
Not.
they've been the most under radar. What are they finished 14-3 team I've ever seen in my life. Like nobody gave them any credit for
Yeah.
going 14-3. I mean, you don't. I'm sorry. In this day and age in the NFL, you don't win 14 games and not have something going for you. That's amazing that they stayed that far under the radar for that entire season and still managed to finish 14-3. That just to me that speaks something. It's almost like in college football when a team goes undefeated. That's hard to do. I don't care how many games you play. I don't care what it is. If you're playing 10 games, if you're playing 20 games, if you're going 14-3, that you got something going for you. I mean, there's only been
Oh yeah.
one completely undefeated team, and then the Patriots got to the Super Bowl and blew it that way. So that doesn't happen very often. So to only lose 3 games, they got a good team, and a lot of people have just kind of swept them under the rug all season long.
Well, I think
They,
the reason people have swept them under the rug is because their schedule wasn't really that brutal.
No, but
I mean,
you still got to come out
the
and
only
win 14
the only
games.
the only teams they actually played was in their division. They didn't really play anybody outside their division that was really good. That's what I'm saying.
Yeah,
So
but
we'll see this weekend how good that Eagles team is.
we
We will
will.
see this
We will.
weekend if the Eagles are really up to it or not.
And I think it's got. I mean, to me, that's the game I'm looking forward to this weekend. But I think, I think they looked good. I think Jalen Hurts for coming out after being injured and then coming back, and I mean, a couple passes I saw him throw, they were bullets down the field on the money. I mean, he's a good quarterback. Yeah, he's mobile. He probably won't last a long time in the NFL. There haven't been many that have gone more than about 5, 6, maybe 8 seasons at the most, being like that.
I think what's more fragile about the old matchup against Giants. They put a lot of money in Jalen Jones. The
Yeah,
Eagles put a lot into Jalen Hurts, but uh,
yeah,
like Country said, they didn't, and I'm looking at the schedule. They really don't have anybody, and the teams that they did have, the Lions, they struggled against. They struggled against the Commanders. They struggled against the Cardinals. They won
yeah.
by 3. Nonetheless, they won. But some of these games, you would expect them to blow them out completely out the water. So there are games where they're like,
Colts
we would
game,
expect
Matt.
40 points and you gave us 13. And then there's other games where it's like we expect 13 points and you gave us 40. So what's going on? I don't
Right.
think the Eagles get out with a win. I
Kind
think I picked the Eagles to go. but I think moving forward, I think Jalen Hurts has a tough time with hardcore defense.
Yeah, fair enough. Fair enough. Let's move on to talk about the next game here. Cincinnati at Buffalo. Obviously, we know our country stands on this one. Buffalo just got outplayed. I mean, they just got hammered on both sides of the ball. Cincinnati looked like a complete team, and that was amazing to me. I mean, they shut them down defensively. Josh Allen couldn't move the ball. Um, Even though it was snowing, and I think the Bengals had the advantage with the white jerseys on. Uh, but no, I mean, seriously, I mean they played a heck of a game on both sides of the ball. And look, there was one picture I saw that it showed like where's the Bengals receivers, and it was like 4 or 5 Bengals receivers. You couldn't hardly see any of them because of the snow, but they played an
Well,
excellent game.
I want to touch on that Bengals, right? The Bengals gave us who we thought they were, and
Mhm.
who they were supposed to be throughout the regular season.
Yeah,
They didn't give us that all regular season.
yeah,
I feel like they
Right.
hid some plays down and were like, we don't want to touch this till we make the postseason.
yeah. Now,
And then they
Yep.
came out as a full team because there's some games
That's the
against
that's
Patriots,
the
against Bucks,
yep. Yep. Go
that
ahead.
it was like, what the fuck? Like, Bengals, what happened to you?
Yeah.
yeah,
What is going on? Because at one point there was a question of, are they going to make it? Are they going to actually make it into the playoffs? There was
yeah.
a question that maybe he's not Joe Cool. And I'm glad that they overzealous that option and got in, and they dismantled the Bills. They showed what the Bills were, and unfortunately, um, I think they just cost Stephon Diggs' job. Done. I think Stephon Diggs wants to win, and I think he's tired of losing to Buffalo because this is not the only year.
Right.
Multiple years in a row they have lost. I think the
Mhm.
Bengals just signed his death warrant in Buffalo, and I think he goes to go play.
Country, who day?
Yeah. I mean.
Tell
I
us
mean.
about it.
I mean. I'm not going to brag about it, because but it was the first. It's the first full game we actually put together all season.
Yeah,
All season. Like we either play one half or we play the second half. In this game, they played the entire game. The first full game they've actually put together all season.
yeah, they look
So
good. I'm not
that's
gonna take that away from them.
yeah.
I mean, like I said, they look good on both sides of the ball. They shut them down on defense. For the offensive line being as banged up as the offensive line was, they moved the ball where and did whatever they wanted to do with it. Really, the whole entire game in those conditions. On top of that, so you're talking about
But you got to figure though, Buffalo is playing in Buff. We're in Buffalo. They're
yeah,
used to playing in
oh
those
yeah,
kind of conditions. We are not. We don't get that much snow here.
yeah,
Um, so to see us go up there in their conditions and run the ball, throw the ball, and play defense and stop their run too. I mean, we set the tone.
they
That's
just
all I'm gonna say.
smashed them in the mouth, and it was a good game. So let's talk about Dallas, San Francisco. This was my pick for the game of the week, and it was a good game. That wasn't quite what I wanted to see score wise. It really could have gone either way. Um, Brock
Both
Purdy,
teams, both teams scored more than I thought both of them were going to score.
Brock Purdy did not look like what he did the week prior to. I think he's an excellent young quarterback, but he showed that he was a young quarterback in that game. And the Cowboys just did their cowboy thing in the playoffs.
Yeah, pretty much. Pretty much. I don't. I had Dallas. I picked Dallas in that game, and they come out and threw an egg on me. So screw you, Jerry Jones.
They threw an egg on everybody.
Yeah,
They really did.
don't ever pick
They
Dallas.
yeah they and it always seems like they do this in the division. They never really go to the wild card, and they never usually win past the divisional. It blows
Yeah,
my mind.
it's been like
Um,
every 20 now.
yeah, the Cowboys really had a tough time even moving the ball, and like you said,
Mm,
Brock Purdy was not the Purdy that we see. He had some pretty balls, some Purdy
Yeah,
balls
yeah,
going
yeah,
out, but nonetheless, he was up against a top 10 defense.
yeah.
But in the same breath, your good quarterbacks Burrow, Mahomes also go up against those same defenses to produce. If he can produce versus the Eagles, I think they win. But it's going to come down to how good can the defensive coordinator call them plays like he has been for 8 weeks in a row. We all know about
yep.
winning streaks going in the playoffs. Someone loses every time. I think this time it's going to be Eagles that lose, but um, I don't think the 49ers are Super Bowl. I will say that. I don't think they end up. I think in the championship game, a lot more was said about the 49ers defense, and a lot more was negatively said about their offense. Because now it showed like even with a good defense, you can't move the ball, and that's how they've been. They've been low scoring all year.
Yeah.
They haven't really blown anyone out, but their defense hasn't really given up too many points.
Yeah. Yeah, defense wins championships. That's for sure. We've seen that many times. We look at Baltimore back in the day. I mean,
Yup.
you look at teams like that. That just always Denver when Peyton Manning won with them. That was defense. It wasn't Peyton Manning. It was Peyton Manning was a game manager, and Denver's defense won that. You know, that's defense is
Bears.
the Bears.
Good old Bears. The old Urlacher days.
Yeah, yeah. You look at all that stuff. That's how you win a championship is through your defense. So let's talk about a little bit
I
about.
just want to put something out there. I've been called a 49ers hater all week by a lot of people. How can I be a 49ers hater if I got them picked to go to the Super Bowl?
So speaking of which, I've got the little graphic here for this week's games. We're going to take them in order, like we've been doing all postseason here. So first game, we're going to lead off the 2 p.m. game. That's San Francisco at the Philadelphia Eagles. I personally have Eagles picked in this game because I think, honestly, it'll be Eagles. Will be too much for San Francisco with the young quarterback. I think Jalen Hurts has showed enough last week to where he's strong enough, in my opinion. If they play their game, I don't think San Francisco can put up enough points against them.
Those two got a strong defense.
Yeah.
However, this is the toughest defense Jalen Hurts has had to play all season.
True.
So, with that being said, the defense is going to win this game, and the 49ers are going to pull this one out.
So you're going 49ers. Dannerman, who you got on this one?
Low scoring.
I like the Eagles offense, but I'm gonna have to take the Niners. Nick Bosa, Ray Greenlaw, Fred Warner, the likes of just those linebackers alone. All right, with Jalen Hurts running, I don't think he's gonna have a productive day. 49ers take this. It's probably gonna be like another 20-10, 20-13 type score.
Yeah, I could see that for sure. I have it kind of maybe the other way. I would say probably maybe 31, 28, 27, 20. I could see it along those lines, but I think Philadelphia is going to pull it out, and that's just my personal opinion on that game. No other thing. I like what I've seen out of Brock Purdy. I mean, you don't come in and win. What's it now? Eight in a row. If you don't got some kind of moxie on you, and they got a great defense to line up against them. But I think this is the end of the line for that team this year, and I think next year they're going to be excellent as well. San Francisco is definitely going to be around for a while. You don't go out and get a guy like McCaffrey. You don't do the things that they did in this season and not expect to be around for a few seasons.
Well, that's another thing. The Eagles' defense ain't seen the kind of players that the 49ers have on offense either. With Debo, Elijah Thompson,
Brandon Ayuk,
McCaffrey, Brandon Ayuk. I mean,
Debo when Debo when he catches the ball, it just reminds me. I think of Friday every time, and I'm thinking that's my bike punk. That's what I'm waiting for him to say. Stand up, that's my bike punk. That's what I'm waiting for. That's that. Yeah, they got some talent around that kid, and I think that's what's really going to help Brock Purdy in the long run and help him develop into an excellent quarterback because they have some excellent skill players around him that he don't have to carry the game. He can be a manager. He can settle in. They got excellent defense. They got young talent all around them that can help him manage the game. So I think that'll be a good game. I'm looking forward to that one. Like I said, that one's at 2 p.m. That's the early game tomorrow. Sunday. Sorry, I'm thinking tomorrow. I've been working all week. I haven't been to work in over a month and a half, so my mind's a little bit scatterbrained this week. And then the 5:30 p.m. game will be, it's 5:30 my time, probably 6:30 Eastern Standard Time. Houday versus the Chiefs. So,
Jeff.
Burrowhead.
Country, why don't you go ahead?
Burrowhead, baby.
Why don't you go ahead and lead us off on this one? Yeah.
going to Burrowhead. We own them. We're 3-0. Our defense, I think, is going to do enough to keep him in the pocket. If we can keep Mahomes in the pocket and get pressure on him, I think the Bengals walk away with this game. I mean, and when I say walk away, I'm telling you, 28-10 if we get pressure on him and he cannot get out of the pocket. Next. That's all needs to be said.
Again, a lot of it obviously is going to depend on the health status of Patrick Mahomes. They're not going to allow, they're not going to tell us that the guy is 25%, 50%, 70%, 99%. They're going to tell us he's 100%. That's what everybody's expecting, is Patrick Mahomes to come out and be Patrick Mahomes. But we're going to know after the first Kansas City drive whether he's Patrick Mahomes. I've been saying this, and I will continue to say this. Patrick Mahomes, and I hate to see it, and I hate to say it, because he's in the same division as the Broncos. The 75% Patrick Mahomes, to me, is better than probably 3/4 of the NFL quarterbacks. The dude just has that thing about him, man. It's just something that when that kid walks out onto that field, he turns into something completely different than what you would expect. Because it wasn't like when he was in college, nobody was like, oh my gosh, it's Patrick Mahomes. But when he came into the NFL, it's just something snapped in his head, something changed. And just a whole different side of him. I know the game's loosened up a little bit. It's a little more quarterback centric, a little more quarterback friendly. They want offense, they want scoring. I get all that kind of stuff, but he gets in a bad pinch. That dude can throw the ball anyway. That dude could throw the ball between his legs backwards and still make a 40-yard pass. But Cincinnati, if they play like they did last week and they shut down on Kansas City on defense, like you said, with the defense, that I can see Cincinnati definitely pulling this out for sure. I think it's going to be a tight game. I would say, 21-20, 21-18. I think it's going to be really tight, and it's going to come down to something small at the end, like Cincinnati has done a couple of their games, inches at the end of a game, one way or the other.
Fortunately, there, Houday, it's hard to beat a team once. It's even harder to beat a team twice in a year. And unfortunately, it is Patrick. I don't like him, but he's good. You do not want to get in a shootout with Patrick Mahomes in the playoffs. Like 9 out of 10, you'll lose in a shootout. Your defense could hold them under 20 points. Yeah, I could see Bengals walking away, but I don't think that's going to happen. I think it's going to be a shootout early. I think they're both going to pop off. I don't think Eli Apple's got what it takes. There's only so many. Mike Hilton is a blitzing corner.
We don't claim Eli Apple anyway.
Yeah, you guys still have Eli, and Patrick Mahomes is going to be Mr. Mahomes. The man is
my Mahomie.
Yeah, I think it's going to be something around like the last prior years. Big old shootout. I think it's going to be a 38-30, 37-30 area. It's going to be well over 50 points that are scored in the game, but I think people are going to take.
What's the weather? What's the weather supposed to be like? Do we know?
I have not looked at that. It's supposed to be cold. I think it's 26 right now over in Kansas City right now.
Because I know, I know a lot of weather plays in injuries too. And if you're coming out with a tight ankle to begin with, and you got that weather, I mean that could play a pretty big factor too.
I have a special picture if we beat the Chiefs next show. Just saying.
I'm excited to see that.
Mid-20s and falling to the teens. No precipitation expected.
So just cold, which is typical of Kansas City at that time of the year. So they know what they're getting into. It's not like they haven't been playing in it for the last month or so. But really, a lot of it depends on the targets around Mahomes too, as well. I mean, you talk about some of these guys that are banged up, which every team's banged up at this time of the year. I mean, you're talking about the last 4 teams in the NFL right now. They're all banged up. They're all beat up. It's just who can overcome those bangs up and beat ups and injuries and whatnot. That's going to determine the game. Who can survive. But I think I'm glad to see. I think the 4 best teams in the year have gotten to this point, and I'm excited to see them play out.
Nobody thought after the first 8 games that we were going to be here. We were sitting at dead even record, and then we went on a tear.
Yeah, but after last season, I mean, there wasn't a surprise to see them at this point. I mean, obviously they made the playoffs and got to the point where they did, and no
But
team has ever done that before. What they did, but I get that. But
it's a surprise because of our schedule strength.
the
Our
way they
schedule
started out and
and
the strength, yeah, I get that.
the
I'm just
strength
gonna go
of
out on a limb and say Chiefs are taking it all. Unfortunately, I think they beat the Niners or the Eagles. It doesn't matter who. I think Mahomie is Mahomie.
If we look at our brackets of integrity, one of us has the
I
Chiefs picked to win the
I
Super Bowl.
think I think no matter which I think no matter which AFC team gets in is going to be the Super Bowl champion.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I don't think either Philadelphia or San Francisco. I don't think they match up well against either of these teams. They're both these teams bring in enough defensive power to where they can control that side of the ball, and they both have really good offenses.
The 49ers match up against them better than anybody else in the NFC.
Yeah,
Just
I
because
agree.
of their defense. So,
Well, I think that kind of wraps up kind of what we got. You guys got anything else major you want to add? I kind of really don't have a whole lot more. Like I said, I'm looking forward to this weekend's games. I want to wait and see how that goes, and then we'll have a lot to discuss next week coming up at Super Bowl time.
hey, we got Super Bowl coming up. We got our flag
Flag
football Pro
football.
Bowl.
Pretty sure I'm not watching that. That's about the stupidest thing I've ever seen in my life. Like, just don't even have the thing. Why even waste your time?
Yeah. I think with the Pro Bowl they just need to name the players and just let it be. Don't let them play. Just let it be.
I do a skills challenge, something like
Yeah.
that. But we may just have to skip that week. What do you say? We may not even do. No, we'll still do a podcast that week. But
We'll still have plenty to talk about. There'll be
yeah,
head coaching jobs and stuff, and there'll be other players and stuff to looking for.
I like
teams
the
and-
coaches. I like like the coach picks that they have. I think that'll be probably the thing we'll talk about the most. But flag football, come on.
I think they went this route because some people were getting because of the way that the Pro Bowl has been played over the past 8 years. Like they don't play. They come in there and they just stand around. There's no rushing the passer like
No,
there used
yeah.
to be. You don't. You're seeing 60 to 70 points put up. We're seeing over 100 points put up in a Pro Bowl game. There's no way you're scoring 100 points on all your Pro Bowl players, top players in the NFL. It's not happening. So I
I
think
don't know.
that's why they moved to the flag football stage. Honestly,
I don't know if this came down a lot, though. I don't know if this has anything to do with the most recent collective bargaining. Because then when they switched to the 18-week season versus the 17-week season, I know some things changed with that, with the competition committee and things like that. This may have been one of the concessions. I'd have to look it up. I don't know exactly right off the top of my head if this was one of the concessions that they gave them, was that they weren't going to have a full contact Pro Bowl.
right?
But what I will say about our 18-week season is a lot of these stats that happen this season are very inflated
Oh, yeah.
Oh, absolutely.
because of it, and everyone's like, "Oh my god, he's so much better than him. Like, what did he do?" No, he got an extra game in is what happened. And when you see like Patrick went over 5,000, Justin Herbert, and Tom Brady, and like along these lines, in all reality, there shouldn't have been anyone without that last
Yeah.
game. There wouldn't have been
Yeah,
anybody.
exactly.
So I don't understand. Like I get the 18 game, but I think 17 was good enough, and I think they played to the favor of you know let's see if we can just get a crappier team that may just sneak in and do what they
Right. And, well, they did. They found the Tampa Bay Buccaneers and
do.
then and Jacksonville.
Somebody had to win that. Somebody had to win that division. That's what that was. Somebody had to win that division. But a lot of what that comes down to with that extra game is this money.
Yep.
The owners were looking at it. They've been wanting it for a while because they like that extra week. Somebody's going to benefit from that extra week. And then part of the overall contract of the NFL is they divvy up some of the money between all the teams as well. So everybody's getting their share of that extra week. That's a big deal to these owners.
And you just
No,
get blown out second
I-
half. That's 27.
I will tell you this.
I still want to throw out that Seattle is still the only team with a losing record to win a playoff game.
The the thing that I'm the happiest about is that we didn't have a Chiefs Bills neutral site game. I'm so glad that didn't happen.
Refund the money.
Yeah. I would have been, man, I would have been like, I wouldn't even watch that game. I would have just turned it off just because of that. It just,
I see what really ticks me off about that is if the Bengals would have won that regular season game against the Bills would have had to come to us.
yeah.
And you know, so it kind of works out either way. So screw the NFL on their coin flip and on their neutral side.
I'm glad it didn't come down to that.
Which is wrong that Joe Mixon got fined for that celebration. I think it was wrong for the fine. I think he should have been allowed to
express his feelings.
There was nothing. There was nothing like there was no. It didn't upset anyone. He simply did a coin flip.
Everybody laughed about it.
Yeah, like now we get a $50,000 fine. Like Jesus Christ.
At least they're kind of coming away from being the no fun league. You know, that's one good thing.
Well, let's let it known that nothing came out of Joe Mixon's pocket for that fine. Mr. Chad Ochocinco paid that fine for him.
Chad Ochocinco. There's a name you haven't heard in a while.
Chad Johnson. Holy cow.
Right? Okay, Chad Johnson, Ochocinco. There we go.
Right, that guy.
He was
terrorist for the NFL.
Yeah. He kind of reminds me
of like Antonio Brown, but like
or T.O. T.O.
Yeah,
yeah.
I think he overdid T.O., to be honest with you. I think he overdid T.O.
Yeah. Well, that's good. So it's been good. It's been a pleasure. You guys got anything else to add? Anything else you guys want to talk about? I'm good. Well, we appreciate everybody that stopped by. Hope you come. We have a Discord. I have it linked in the description if you want to come join and be part of the discussion. Other than that, we will be back next week. We will post in the Discord. We will try to post online. Glad to have Nanner Man today. Hopefully this will be a regular thing. Try to get Man on the Couch back next week as well. So that way we can have a good little discussion. Enjoyed talking with y'all. I'm glad that we got to hang out and just talk some football. And that's pretty much it. So I think we're going to be out for the night and come hang out with us next week. Like I said, just pay attention for times and we'll get back to y'all. I appreciate y'all hanging out with us. Have a good one.